Good morning, and hey now, PASW staff, clients, and friends joining us. Welcome to Wednesday's class. We had a lot of fun looking yesterday at the great rock opera by The Who, Tommy, and that cool suspended fourth chord. Then we looked at North by Northwest, the Hitchcock movie for your film scoring assignment. So get that in tonight, and I'll embed it and make it look great for you guys on Friday. Okay, so yeah, it's that time again of the week where we're going to do another. I'm going to share with you part 4 of me going forward in my life, in my career, or my whatever you want to call it. I think this is good. This is part of the 100th anniversary class, and I said that I'd share a little bit about my music, my work, most importantly. It's hard not to talk about my work without kind of giving you context of what else is going on in my life. So we looked at my music lessons early as a kid, my parents, my mom and dad teaching me all about music, my brother playing tons of music in the house and teaching me about music, my sister introducing me to literature, Jack Kerouac in junior high, and not really introducing. I would kind of eavesdrop and I would say, yeah, maybe I want to do that. I mean, I guess she would share sometimes. I just remember kind of getting her getting really mad if I went into her room to steal On the Road. And I don't really know why. I'll talk to her about that after the class. So suffices to say that the whole family is a creative family, and I got a lot of my musical ideas, I'm sure, unconsciously from them. So then we talked about my horrible experience in elementary school with my terrible anxiety problem, and then it got better with junior high because I wanted to be in a band and get girls and play Jimi Hendrix music, and that's just that seemed what I wanted to do until I got into jazz, and going into 8th grade and meeting my great first music teacher, Mr. DeLone. He really fostered jazz in me, along with my Uncle Ricky and my dad. They really they made me fall in love with jazz, and so I moved away from Nirvana and Jimi Hendrix. Not so much I didn't listen to them anymore. I still love them today. It was just not what I wanted to devote all my time to. I wanted to devote all my time to practicing the trumpet, and as I mentioned, I practiced all of the time, 8 hours a day. Charlie Parker solos, sight reading, lip exercises, because this is skin, and for a trumpet, a mouthpiece is metal, and metal's always gonna win. So it's so much. And we talked about how unglamorous it is. It's just and doing long tones. It's so laborious, but this is what every musician does. They put in their time to practice, and when you see them on stage and it looks great, you don't see all the other hours that they put in. But I'm ready to go to high school, and I'm very excited to talk about my time in high school. It was probably one of the best times of my life. No, not really. There were some really good parts about it, though. I don't want it to seem like I'd give anything to go back there. I wouldn't. But it was wonderful. I went to Alexander Hamilton High School on Robertson, right off the 10 freeway. I went there because, my sister went there. She was in the humanities program, but I wanted to go there for music because they had, and they still have, I believe, the best music program in a public high school in Los Angeles. It was either that or Loxa, but I was afraid that I wouldn't get the real high school experience if I went to Loxa, since it was a smaller school. And I wanted the prom, I wanted the whole full experience in high school. So I went to Hamilton, and I loved it. And in particular, their musical theater program was amazing, as well as their jazz program. So I was so interested in getting into the jazz band, and I tried out, and then I met my second great music teacher, Mr. Dan Taguchi. And Taguchi's another teacher that changed my life. And I remember the very first day meeting him and being so nervous and he knew my name in advance because he had some sort of schedule card that he had to give me, and I was so terrified of him. He was very he was strict. He taught me a lot, not just about music. We'll get into it a little bit. Not just about music, but how to be a professional musician, how to be a human being that takes work seriously, that acts professionally, that holds themselves, and I'll talk about that a little later. So I meet him in 9th grade, and I get into jazz C band. So there's 3 bands. There's A, B, and C. And C is mostly freshmen and sophomores. So it's the lowest. And I remember the first time asking him if I could take a solo. And he said, "I don't know, can you?" And I thought, oh, okay, this is funny. This guy's great. I knew he was great when the first day he said, my 2 idols are Groucho Marx and John Lennon. And I said, okay, I'm going to like this guy. But it wasn't all fun. It was a lot of work. He's a very serious, he's funny and hilarious, but it was a very strict, I took it so seriously. So going to Hamilton was great. Even Jazz C band, the kind of the lowest one, they were a great band. And I was featured very quickly playing trumpet and having solos. And I don't even know how I got through that. I was nervous playing in a full jazz big band and playing in front of them and be featured as a soloist. My anxiety was through the roof. I thought I was gonna, just forget how to play trumpet. My lips were gonna break, or every single thing imaginable. I remember at a festival ordering chili cheese fries because they were there, and then 15 minutes later playing in front of all these people with a big spotlight on me and playing this very beautiful ballad. And then realizing halfway through the solo that, why did I eat that? I'm sweating chili cheese literally from my forehead. I don't know why. I just thought, and that was a really bad idea. So, but the greatest thing in the world happened to me, and it was still one of the greatest days of my life when I found out I got into A band as a sophomore. That was almost unheard of. Very few people ever made that jump, but I was precocious. I was also lucky, but I worked really hard, and so I was the youngest person in that jazz band, and that was one of the best years. Jazz band made it just wonderful. I learned so much about music, about playing, and like I mentioned before, my dad was very smart. He made sure I had piano. Other musicians were in other ensembles. They were in orchestra, they were in wind ensemble, brass ensemble. You could only take 2 classes. Jazz was one, and the other one I took was piano, which was atypical because my other jazz guys weren't, they were in the marching band or other things because, it was another way to play music. But I took piano lessons, and I didn't know how good I was. I was mostly self-taught, and I knew how to read music, of course, but my dad really wanted me to go into playing piano. So I remember I enrolled in freshman piano playing. And the songs were pretty easy. And I realized that I could play them better than I thought I could play them. So I was playing Down in the Valley, which is a really nice, fun, nursery rhyme song. But I was like, I think this might be too easy for me. But, I was like, it's fine. I don't need. And I don't know if it was my mom's suggestion or something, but I was like, okay, some of these songs are really easy. So I transferred into, I don't know. This was general piano, and then you could go into piano 4, and piano 4 was like where you had private keyboards. Everyone had their own headphones. Everyone was practicing. This was kind of all a free for all, a generic piano class. So I transferred into piano 4 because Down in the Valley was a little bit too easy for me. So within a week, I was playing Bach, and so when I had my own keyboard and headphones, and every single day I could practice the pieces, then I would start writing my own music. And so I wrote a lot of music, started in 9th grade, and definitely by 10th to senior year, I would have an hour a day to, I would spend, maybe 20, 30 minutes on the piece I was practicing. And I became a very good piano player. I remember learning an Aaron Copland piece, The Cat and the Mouse, and I remember hearing a girl play it at a recital, and I was thinking, man, Aaron Copland, I've heard of that composer. We've talked about Aaron Copland, the Appalachian Spring. composer and rodeo. And I remember thinking, I'll never be able to play that. That's really advanced and really hard. But I worked hard and I learned it. And after that, I started writing pieces for the piano that were more sophisticated and also that were more still melodic. I was very influenced by Rhapsody in Blue because that was a classical jazz piece, and I was somewhere in that middle, classical and jazz. I was really loving the jazz band, but I was playing all classical piano music. But I was interested in writing, like we talked about when I heard and watched the movie Pal Joey. That really got me into wanting to write jazz songs, jazz standard songs. But also with piano class, I was writing songs kind of in the, like, classical songs, like the Aaron Copland one. This is an early one that I wrote in 10th grade, I believe. And I could perform them and play them. And it was one of my favorite times because, as you could have guessed, I was terrified in high school. Didn't really think I was going to get beat up as much. I was more worried about getting beat up in elementary school. High school, I think I was probably worried about throwing up every day in front of everybody. That was a big, although that was also in elementary school too. So I'm trying to remember, but I do remember walking around terrified every minute. And we talked about my horrible anxiety and OCD and depression, and that wasn't really diagnosed yet. That will be in a future class. And but it was a great creative time for me, and it was also wonderful because I think my dad saw that I was excelling in composition, and I was very interested in learning how to use the computer to write music, because I knew that somehow some people were writing music on the computer and being able to orchestrate it and get sounds. So back then it was general MIDI, and MIDI is still something we use, and it's an amazing invention, but every kind of PC computer would have these electronic MIDI sounds. So the flutes, the clarinets, they sounded terrible. But when I was 15, I thought it was better than nothing. It was amazing. And I remember getting access to some of these free sounds that came in on our big ass computer. And then finding some free music software and starting to write on the computer, something called Magic software. But when I understood how to start writing on the computer, it was like going into a playground. It was just, oh my gosh, it was the greatest feeling in the world. It was like, up until that moment, my head was, the floodgates were open with ideas. It was playtime now. And I did fine in school. I'm not a very bright student at all. I got, I'm a B student probably. But I spent all of my time writing at the computer. My imagination it was probably one of the most beautiful creative times of my life, because when I could write freely into the computer and using sounds, and I wasn't worried about orchestration. I knew that I would learn that later. I knew that I would learn counterpoint and harmony later. I just wanted to write freely, write music, and just sit back and let my imagination take over. And it's just one of the most beautiful parts, memories that I have. So, and then my dad took me to Sam Ash in Hollywood and got me Sibelius. And that was a big purchase. That was an expensive thing. Like I said, we were middle class, but that's a big purchase, and I'm still very grateful for that purchase. And as soon as I got that program, it allowed me to really start making professional notated scores with parts. And then my next thing was, okay, I'm going to write something for the symphony orchestra, and we're going to stop there. I thought we'd make it through high school, but we just I'd rather keep these short and you still like me, rather than just go way long and just one long class where you're just so annoyed with me by the end. So let's just settle down and take a breath. And we're gonna start the next one. I'm not sure when. Maybe tomorrow, maybe next week. I don't know. I'll keep you guys guessing. We'll do the last 2 years of high school, and my orchestra piece, and a little bit more about Dan Taguchi. And I think this is fun. This is good for us. Okay, I love you guys. Thank you for listening. Really sweet and very much appreciated. And I'll see you tomorrow.